Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
This was about rule assignment. If you look at the access review over here, you can check for review access. All these things I don't need to repeat. This is all done in the first session. Privileged identity management, and once you have this, all this is part of your premium P2. Remember Azure Active Directory, premium P2 license. Then we can specify what is the role that you would want, right? And once that role is being assigned to a user, what permissions you want to act, what permissions you do allow that user to have. All this is part of your privileged identity management. And through this you can check who are the users, what permissions have been assigned to them, and how is it working over here. Just part of your identity governance. If any user has to be given a permission or not to be given a permission, those things you can specify as part of your privileged identity management. Now next member over here that you have is Azure policies. Till now, whatever we have done is we have checked for what permissions the user will have, what permissions the group will have on the underlying scope, where it is root management group, that is child management group, whether it is a subscription or a resource group or a specific resource. We have checked users rated permissions on the underlying environment. Let's go to the next section here, which is Azure policies. As far as Azure policies are concerned, right, Azure policy is not about user. Azure policy is about resource. Now, what do I mean by that? If you see the example over here, sorry, I think I skipped. Here, if you see, the resources over here. First situation is, how is Azure policy different from RBAC? RBAC is about users. A given user will have what permissions on the resources below, right? Whether and yet to define the scope, you have to define the permissions there. Next thing that you see here, if you see Azure policy in that context, Azure policy is about resources. How are you going to protect the resources? How are you going to make sure that there are right resources being created by the users? Right. Earlier, if you see this from user to resources, this is from resources to users. If you look at a policy definition here, you can specify what are the SKUs which users can create. If you are looking at GRS, RAGRS, and you feel that these are expensive in nature, I don't want users to create it. You can create a policy for it. Second thing that you see is allowed resource types. If you don't want people to create, now it's throughout your subscription or throughout the management group, wherever you want this to be applied. Right? You can apply to any. You have to apply to all our specific scope. But which SKUs you want people to create? Even in case of virtual machine queues, you can restrict them from only D1, D2, D1 machines, D2 machines. Right. And even there, you can specify. Even there, you can specify what is the type of machine. 2-core machine, 4 machine, 4-core machine. You know what is your organization requirement and which are the relevant queues or relevant machine types which should be created. Now, if I don't do this, what is the other way of doing it? If I don't create a policy, what is the other way of doing it? Other way of doing it is you talk to people. You explain them. What is Azure all about? You explain them. What is pay-as-you-go model? You teach them, train them. Right. Put post-it notes in front of their screens. Create a screensaver. Does that work? Will people accept whatever you have asked to them? Ask them not to do. They will try that. Normal human tendencies is, if something is said, don't do it. Let me first try that. Why? Guru is hiding something from me. It doesn't want me to learn and try something new. Let me try that first. That's a human tendency. Best thing to do is, I have told you not to do. Still, you want to go ahead. Try it out. It will give you an error. Now, if you still want to create it, you have to raise a ticket. Or you have to go to origin and say that this is a POC which I want to do. Can you allow me permissions? Right. That's the only way forward. Otherwise, whenever you try doing something like that, it will give you an error. Right? This is what you can do over here. 3 things that you can do with policies is, 1 is allow, 2nd is deny, and 3rd is audit. I want the user to create or I will not force the user to do something or not do something. But I would also want to do an audit of that. Say for example, if somebody is creating a disk but not doing encryption for that disk, is it allowed? Not allowed. If you say, if you don't do encryption, I will not allow you to add a disk. That could be one approach. A second approach could be, I can allow you to add a disk. It may not have disk encryption, but it is not as per the security practices. It will show you a red mark once it comes to audit that this is something which is a security policy decided, finalized by the organization, but you are not abiding by it. Are we getting? This is called as audit policy. There are 3 types of policies that we can. These are 3 things which you can achieve through policies. Here if you see, this is the JSON representation of allow compute virtual machines, and there will be a list of SKUs, whatever is decided. If you create anything which is out of this list, it will deny that. Only SKUs which are part of the list will be allowed over here. Now whatever I am talking about, there could be number of resources over here. There could be number of such policies here. There could be different shut-off policies for different resources. What you can do is, you can correlate them or put them together as an initiative. One initiative is collection of policies, and each policy will be for a specific resource. One resource can have more than one policies as well. But just make sure they are not conflicting in nature. That's important. You can't have a one policy saying allow 5 type of machines. Second policy saying allow only 2 type of machines. Then you are creating a confusion. Right? Don't create conflicting policies. Create policies for resources through which you can allow any whatever actions you want. And then you can club them up using a definition, using an initiative. Clear everyone with this? Like in case somebody creates a conflicting policy without knowing the other policy is available. Like, is there any way? It executes only the latest one. Like something like that. My experience gives an error. There is already a policy which is conflicting with this. That's good actually. Either you modify your policy or you delete that second policy. What you can do is, you can check for policy definitions. Collate or create an initiative which will have all those policies. You can have your initiative definition and then apply this initiative onto a resource group or onto a particular hierarchy and then check whether they are working properly or not. How many resources violate the policy? How many resources are working with that policy? You can check that. If you go to your Azure environment and again, if you see the role-based access controls can be applied on root management group, and you can also have your policy being applied over here. Same thing, whole management group as well, subscriptions as well, resource groups as well, but not on resources. You cannot apply a policy directly on resources because policy is meant for resources. Any policy you want to create cannot be on the resource level. It can be on all other levels, but not on the resource level. That means it cannot be applied to a single resource. It can be applied to a single resource, but not on the resource level. Because once you have created that resource, which means you have already done with it, then there is no meaning of stopping you. I wanted to stop you from creating a N-series machine, but you have already gone ahead and created that. Then what is the meaning of stopping you? Is it only for creation? I mean restricting on the creation of the encryption, anything, any rules that you want to apply for that resource. And that can be done before the resource gets created, not after the resource creation. Make sense? Right. Whereas RBS is more in terms of accessing. Once that resource is created, who will access? How will access? How will the user access? What actions they can perform? Those things I want to control. I can do it on any prior level and that resource level as well. Let me go and show this on the portal. I can go to any scope that I want. If you see, there is something called as policies. As far as policy is concerned, here you can go ahead and say assign policy, assign policy, assign initiative. Within this resource group, I want to create a policy definition. Actually, this is more in terms of assigning policy. There are 71 policies that you have by right now. Previous week, 6 volt. Every week, depending upon the customer's feedback. Microsoft. Observing and understanding. What are people's requirements day in, day out? Microsoft is creating more and more such policies over here. Let me take up a policy. Search for SKUs. Storage accounts should be limited. By allowed SKU. Allowed virtual machine SKUs. Vaping SKUs. Wherever you have SKU as a property, SKU as attribute, you have these members over there. Right. Policy enforcement. What do you want to do? You want to allow. Deceive. I want to deny. I want to deny. Whatever is not in the SKU over here. I want to allow standard LRs. I want to allow premium LR. And I want to allow standard. 3 of them. I want to allow other. I want to deny. The reason B. Other policies are expensive. One question over here that people ask is, whenever you have this policy and you said as per the policy, only 3 of them can be created. Why don't you gray out? Why don't you gray out or remove other reports? When the user is creating it, it should not be visible there itself. It doesn't work that way. Even in this resource group, when you are creating a resource, you will be able to see those options. Right? Because this is not a role-based access control. Now, why am I saying that? When you have role-based access control, if you go and perform that action there, many times you will see, while the resource creation or things will be grayed out for you. Here it doesn't happen that way, because policy gets applied when you are trying to create that resource. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In this resource group, you can see. Let me try adding a storage account. Let me try adding a storage account. Within this storage account, test policy, stored, second, region, Southeast Asia, standard. Let me go ahead, click on review and create. many times. It feels in the validation itself. Sometimes it feels when it is initiating a deployment. Should we apply the policy correctly? Let me check it once again because the policy is working. This will not allow creation of GRS. Let me go to the policy section. It says not started. Do we have to activate it or something like that? Allow SKUs premium. Do we have to activate it? Do we have to activate it? Do we have to activate it? Right now, let me go back, delete this account. I'll try this once again tomorrow. Once we have this policy being finalized, these governance policies have to be read earlier, and then we roll out the subscription access using role-based access control to various people. And once they start creating these resources, then they will be able to see the impact of it. I showed you all a quick example of policies. You can import policies from your GitHub environment. You can have your policies in JSON format, or you can use it through portal like how I showed you earlier. In terms of initiatives, I already mentioned about this. Once it comes to initiative, there are a lot of predefined initiatives given by Microsoft. If I go to say storage account, let me go to policies, my mistake. Let me go to resource group, within resource group, let me go to policies. Now within policies, you can see initiatives over here. You can go to assign policy, you can go to assign initiative. As far as initiative is concerned, initiative is collection of number of policies. You can see I have custom initiative, custom policies. You can create these members over here. There are around 31 initiative definitions. pre-existing, pre-configured initiative definitions. If you want to check what are those initiatives, what are the resources inside that, you can go to the definition section. Within definition, here you have initiative definitions. Within initiative definitions, you can create a new initiative as well. Which category you want over here. Or you want to put your initiative in an existing environment, in existing initiative resource. Say for example, let me put my initiative in compute. What is the version which I want to specify over here? What is the version of the policy definition? And within this initiative, which are the policy definitions I want to add out of that? 671 or 670, whatever existing policies I have. Which of these policies I want to add over here? This is the collection of all these, and collection of all these policies will make this initiative. Does it make sense to everyone? It's just like a group of policies which can be assigned, allotted at a time. Is it absolutely correct? If you look at some of the existing policies like Kubernetes, cluster policies, Azure monitoring policies, Azure monitoring initiatives under definitions, let me go and filter it over here. Right now it is showing me combination of both of them. Let me go and specify what are the initiatives over here. If you see this Azure Security Benchmark, for Security Benchmark, there would be around 200 or 250 security policies. I want to group all of them as one member. If you see, there are 190 policies over here, says Microsoft Azure Foundation's 104 policies, ISO standards 53 policies, HyperTrust policies 122 policies. Which of these policies you want to collate and create as one initiative, and will check for? The compliance policy. Compliance are policies that you have across the board. Something like NIST has 790 policies. Yes, it is. These are set of policies which are existing now. Some of them are part of your environment. This is the same thing as the other policies will be downloaded from the GitHub, depending upon what initiative you have used over here. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.